Hello and welcome back. Sorry I've not posted for a while. A little while back, about 3 weeks ago, I done my back in, and then I had a CV19 jab and got a bit of flu, and I've just not been in very good fettle at all. I don't know, not really felt like doing a lot, but I've still, been plugging away. As you can see, we've got a new amp on the bench. The start of a new amp on the bench. Prior to that though, if you come in the other room, I redid all this preamp. Wasn't happy with the layout as it was and everything, so redid all that. It's got a remote control, volume and what have you. The 6146 amplifier is still sitting here, which I'll get onto in a minute. And I've also acquired another big Tektronix 500 series oscilloscope, 545B, and this one works, unlike the other two I've got which don't. Anywho, back to this amplifier on the bench. So as you can probably make out from these output transformers here, these are the output transformers that I spoke about a few videos back from Primary Windings in the UK. We built a prototype that worked, but instead of going down the front end being a B9A sort of based type architecture, I'm not quite sure if that's the right word, we've gone for some weird and wonderful valves. So to drive the 2C34, we've got a 6BL7 GT, which in its own right could be considered an output valve. It's capable of 10 to 12 watts on its own, so that is more than sufficient to drive the 6C34. Sorry, having to think here, it's at the end of the day. That in turn is driven isn't quite the right word. This is going to be the phase splitter, which is a Det20, I believe, 2C22. It's got quite a few of designated numbers depending on which country. It's a single triode in one envelope, as it were. Sorry, words are all over the place here. And then on the front end duty, we've got a HY615, which is also a single triode. Both of these triodes are transmitting triodes, so they're capable of very high frequencies. But if I, try not to groan too much because of my back. I don't know if you can see there. Basically, this HY615 is unusual in that the anode structure is horizontal rather than vertical. Yeah, we can see the anode in this one. Both are the same in that a grid, the control grid and the anode are taken out of these two top caps. These two valves I've had for ages. I got them in a big box of valves that I bought years ago, and yeah, they've just been sitting there waiting for the day when I built this amplifier. I thought they would go, well, I think they do go quite nicely with the sort of rabbit ears of the, I'll take that off a minute. So as you can see, they match the 2C34 in that they've got these rabbit ears. Well, I call them rabbit ears, God knows what you call them, but you know what I mean. So I think, yeah, they look quite snazzy. So yeah, aesthetically speaking, I think they go well. And I've sort of offsetted the valves here so that, we can see them in all their full glory, as it were. The front end, I haven't put the volume controls on quite yet. Got the on-off switch in the middle, and I will flip it over. And then looking underneath, we've got the big mains toroid, which I've recently wound. The HT smoothing capacitors and bridge rectifier on one board. These are a bit over the top really. Yeah, I've just sort of winged it. These are Nichicon 820 microfarads, 315 volts, 105 degree Nichicon, blah blah blah. Big capacitors, a bit over the top for this application, but I was trying to do away with the need for a choke. Over here we've got the bias power supply, which is very simple. It's just basically three 470 microfarad 100 volt caps, and it's just a couple of RC filters. So the bridge rectifier charges this capacitor up here. The rectifying diodes are underneath there, sort of surface mount. So the bridge rectifier charges that 470 mic cap. 150 ohms resistor into that capacitor there. That's one RC filter, and the same again there. Our placement could have been better, but never mind. I've gone for the using big enamelled wire for the heater windings. I'm not quite sure whether this will be permanent yet. I mean, yeah, it's a bit sort of how you're doing, but it works. And on the speaker terminals, I've got some real old stock. God knows how old they are. They must be what? Oh, I've only just noticed that one and that one are different. New old stock, big fuck off terminals, and our input RCA is here. I had a little bit of I had to give some thought to where I was going to put those, which I'll get round to in a minute. I would have liked to have used some new 4mm binding post. Haven't got any money, so we're sort of building this amplifier on what I've got, really trying to utilise what I've got rather than buying parts. I went to buy some bits earlier on today at Farnell, and the minimum order has gone up from 30 to 40 quid. So that's 40 quid before you add the VAT. So with the VAT added, you're talking 50 quid. That's sort of a minimum order to get free postage. If you go below that, you've got to pay 6 quid handling charge. Well, the 6 quid you might as well spend it on components, don't you? Anyway, that's put it out of my budget for this month, so that's that. So I try not to waffle too much. This toroid is one that I had knocking about. I don't know whether I mentioned it in one of the last videos. Where are we? Stuff all over the place as usual. These toroids, I've got a few of these, came out of satellite receive power supplies. They're about 160 VA. I was going to build a couple of monoblocks, but you know, using one of these toroids per channel, as it were. But the smaller your toroid core, the more turns you have to put on. So the HT has got 1,100 turns, which took quite a while. I just pootled away, just taking it gently over a few days, just doing what I could, you know, and having to go and sit down because my back would give me jet. After doing some calculations, one of these mains transformers is sufficient to power the whole lot. What else to mention? Yes, the chassis. A chap in the village, a neighbour, recently moved in, come down from London, or up from London, chucking a load of stuff out, and he was chucking these mess tins out. And I thought, right, yeah, lovely. They would make lovely chassis, and as you can see, they do. I've looked online to see if I can get any more, but all I can find is like little ones, but still, I think they make really nice chassis. So there's something to look out for. One word of caution, they're not square. So when I was doing some marking out, I had a little bit of a problem because they're not square on this surface here, although they are on the sides. One last thing, I'll try and keep this relatively short. It's got its own handles. Not sure whether I shall keep them or not, but they're just there for now. One last other thing about this amplifier. As you saw, we've got two big 820 microfarad capacitors on there, which will be more than sufficient to filter the HT so that we've got really low ripple. I did think of using this choke, which is the only choke I've got that will do the job, but as you can see it's a bit big, and well, it's bigger than the output transformers in physical dimensions, and it's of a totally different style. I mean, it's probably what, 1930s Birmingham sorry, I'll try and get this right. Birmingham Sound Recordings. No, sorry, Birmingham Sound Reproducers Limited. BSR, the people I think who made all the record decks. I mean, this must be what, 1930s, 40s? Since I last posted, I've noticed that I picked up a few new subscribers. Thank you very much for that. That's brilliant. Although this channel really isn't about getting as many subscribers as possible, it is still nice that it's like I see it as a vote of thanks sort of thing. So thanks for that. It's always good to sort of feel appreciated, as it were. Right, to wind things up, I'm just making a little circuit board here for the constant current sources that the 6BL7s will run off. They run at quite a hefty current, well, hefty for valves, that is. Most valves are only running at 2-3 milliamps, maybe 4 milliamps. These will be running at about 10 milliamps. Well, that's the idea anyway at the moment. So our constant current source, pretty simple. Got a 6V2 Zener. That's to keep this base here. Alright, we went on the base of this BC549. That keeps that at a constant voltage, obviously. We've got a fixed resistor and a preset for the emitter. Well, as always, ta-da for now.